Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Now I know a lot of you are already waiting for exploration guides, and as always I will be posting a video for each quest, and I'm going to be breaking down every single path, suggesting the best options, and always discuss the boss fights and everything else. Right, so for the ones of you that are in a bigger rush, I will probably do myself a bit of a disservice, and I'm just going to show you this immediately on. Here is a write-up effectively for every single path from left to right, how I would approach them, the things to note, and this is basically the short abridged version of this video, the things that I will be discussing here. So this is as far as all of the paths are concerned and strategies for every path. And here we have the boss fight options that you can just take a screenshot of, and they are the best counters for the boss fights without any explanation, because some of them you do want to hear that for. However, either way, again, I'm going to just flash this thing, and that is exactly how we're going to do basically all the lanes. We're going to go from left to right, and we're going to discuss every single path. So, if you're still here, well then thank you for watching. We're going to start with this Paradox debuff node. The thing that we need to know, whenever we hear a word paradox and it has a name attached to it, it effectively means the opposite. If it says paradox debuffs, it means that it will be counting how many debuffs we put on. Therefore, any champion that actively debuffs is typically off the table. Ironically, we have entropic aptitude node here, so any champion with many buffs would significantly benefit from this node. So one of the best options here is King Groot, because he gets a ton of fury buffs, and all of those fury buffs would get increased potency. And if you don't throw level 1s and only throw level 2s, it doesn't really inflict many debuffs, only one poison, with every level 2, which is very easily manageable. The reason why debuffs don't matter at all is because A, parry, and B, enhanced parry armor break node. Which means that with an average champion, every time you parry, you're going to get 2 paradox charges. So whenever you parry any champion twice, that's it. You have 4 paradox charges and you're ready to roll. All of the defenders will start unstoppable, but again, just parry twice and it's going to be normal. So you do have to manage your paradox charges, but it's fairly easy given how easily they are acquired. And then for most part, this entire path just becomes a path where your buff potency is increased. The only one fight that you need to be wary of, well, there is a Penny Parker, so you need to be aware of how to fight Penny Parker. Even though you can fight Penny Parker with pretty much any champion, just whack her shield down and nuke her down afterwards, is this Emma Frost. Because if you enter the fight with no paradox charges or very low paradox charges, you will have pretty much no way to apply debuffs. Because she's stun immune while she's in diamond phase, she starts in the diamond phase, and also if you can't stun her, this armor break will not apply. So this is the key thing that you need to keep in mind. Whenever you enter this fight, you need to bring whichever champion already has built-in paradox charges, or alternatively, whichever champion can actually put on 3 debuffs on this lane. So as I suggested, for clearing this lane, you basically just use whichever champions don't actively kind of debuff. You can bring in Ghost, you can bring in Kitty, you can bring in Aegon, Falcon, Kingpin, and spam level 2s. Hercules, why not? Be careful with the Infuriate. King Groot is phenomenal for this. Whichever champion you like more that does not rely on debuffs. Heck, bring Strife for all I care. Right, let's go on to the second lane, and that is this Burnout lane. And that Burnout node kind of does nothing. It's actually very, very soft. At the worst, it's going to give opponents 100% increased special attack damage, which is not a lot of increase in special attack damage. For given Act 7 values. And then if they do get past 10 charges ever, they start to degen, but who cares? Time to strike also kind of doesn't really do anything. Another way for you to get a degen on the opponents, none of it really matters. The only problem in this lane is the kinetic transference. And opponents do have at times here some specials which you will be kind of incentivized to block. So the answer to that is simple. Power control. Bring in any power control champions. Bring in Dr. Doom, bring in Magic, Black Widow, Clairvoyant, or whoever else, and you're going to be fine. If opponents can't use special attacks, you don't really need to worry about kinetic transference, and that's it. Keep in mind that there is a Dr. Doom that you will have to go up against, and also a Sasquatch. So those are two champions that you kind of want to have counter for. And that's just about it. So once again, if we're going to go over the best options, Dr. Doom, Magic, Hawkeye, Voodoo, Stacking Hands, Spider-Man, why not? He's assisted. Special evade and then heavy power drains. What Visions, Captain America Sam and Cap America Sam can switch off Kinetic Instigator. That works fine. So there we go, the better options. But I'm sure you have plenty more. Now this next lane is actually Ronan cheese lane, even though it's disguised. 3 of the fights here, I think actually 4 of the fights here can be cheesed with Ronan if you have access to him because of unlimited power. There is unlimited power, unblockable finale, and other 2 nodes are there to help you, which basically gives you 70% fury if you're running a mutant champion and if you trigger a regen. And then every time you use a special attack, you have a chance to trigger regen, higher chance if you have prowess active. So it's basically for mutants. But you don't have to bring mutants. That's the thing. There's no real downside of not bringing mutants. There's no punishment for it. So you can bring in whatever champions you want and you like. You can bring in Hercules and start nuking champions down, for instance. There's absolutely nothing against it. However, the easiest way, obviously, is to bring in Ronan and stun cheese Void, stun cheese Claire, and stun cheese Anti-Venom. I'm quite sure you can stun cheese Kraven as well. You can't do it against Elsa, and you can't do it against Night Rusher, but you can still use Ronan and just use the fact that they have a lot of buffs active if you want to. Alternatively, just bring in your mutant champions that do not debuff too much. I did use APOC and opponents started getting quite a lot of those Furies, but we still managed to clear the lane quite well. But Bishop is amazing for this lane because Bishop can get regen buffs on demand. You just need to parry once and you can get 5 regens and you're going to have 350% increase in damage. Bishop is amazing for a ton of this stuff. Not to mention that he can just burst down the opponents to bypass the final 25% of the unblockable finale. And on top of that, we have Professor X. If you want to have a really good time, you might as well add some power boosts. I used APOC. It can get a bit tricky. Archangel can work perfectly well. Kitty. But basically, you can just bring any champions that don't debuff too hard, and you're going to be fine. Not much to worry about there. Just keep in mind that if you're running Liquid Courage Double Edge, obviously, you need to be aware of the Void, which kind of initially annoyed me a bit. And yeah, that is about it. Moving on to the Havoc lane, which is Paradox Combo, Entropic Aptitude, and this Quantum Glimpse and Immovable Object, and special attacks are unblockable. You see, as soon as it says all special attacks are unblockable, what do we know about unblockable special attacks? Come on, I'm sure some of you have heard. Miles Morales. Miles Morales will be guaranteed to miss any and all special attacks from these guys. He doesn't have to try index, he doesn't have to do anything. So Miles can cheese a ton of this stuff here. Obviously against Havoc, you want to bring in somebody like Hulkbuster or Warlock or whoever, just so you do not get detonations on you. Additionally, because of the way these paths are set, you can benefit from champions that have extended combo because of Immovable Object gives you Steadfast buff every 5 hits on your combo meter. And then, obviously, since the specials are unblockable, you're going to end up blocking plenty of them because you do not want to trigger too many decks. This entire lane is kind of made very tricky, actually, because you gain 5 hits on your, you gain 1 paradox charge for 5 hits on your combo meter, but you lose a paradox charge when you trigger a dex. Since special attacks on this lane are all projectiles and unblockable, typically you do want to dex them, unless you have these immovable steadfast charges from immovable object node. In order to get these charges quicker, you want champions that amass their combo count very, very fast. So you can use Carnage, you can use Black Widow Deadly Origins, you can use Stealth Suit Spider-Man, or which other champions that typically gain their combo meter very, very quickly. Alternatively, you can ignore this entire shindig and go in with power control, right? If opponent doesn't throw a special attack, you don't need to dex an unblockable special attack. So, you can use Doom, Black Widow Clairvoyant, Magic, Punisher 2099, Ghost can phase through plenty of special attacks. Then we have Howard the Duck, who actually can work quite well for several fights here because he gets plenty of hits from his heavy attacks, ramp up your buffs, and benefit from increased potency of your buffs, so your Furies will be more potent. And then on top of that, your level 2 has suppression. Tiger can phase through plenty of special attacks. And then we have Hawkeye and Mr. Fantastic, which both also work very well for these fights. See? Sorted it out. Right, let's move on to the next one. And next one is this top dog backhanded complement power flow power shield lane. In reality, basically what you want to do is you just block opponent's special attack, and that's how you get power. That's all there is to this lane. That's what you want to do. This taunt node can actually, that backhanded complement can kind of hinder you a bit at times. So you need to be careful when you use your heavy attack, because if you reduce their combat power rate by 50%, then it's going to be harder for you to get opponents to use their special attacks. So you do not want to spam your heavy attacks. But in general, you can just use any Cosmic and Mystic champions here. It's power shield, you know, it's not going to be hard. Just take their specials on a block and do your worst. So I just pretty much listed the top Mystic and Cosmic champions, but in reality, you can use pretty much anybody who you like here. It's really not a hard fight. You just block opponent's special attack and then use your own special, so why not? Hercules, Hype, CGR, Corvus, Doom, Tiger, Claire, Sorcerer Supreme, Scarlet Witch, Sigil, or whoever the hell you like. There is no really any kind of limit. It's power shield, it's a bit of fun, it goes quick. Keep in mind that tech champions on this path will have attack reduction, so perhaps avoid tech champions. That's about it. And then we have this Shake It Off war path, which is actually really fun time with Kingpin. And pretty much anybody, to be honest, can work here. If you want to have a little bit of a troll, you can also use Dragon Man, because there is the Rust and Ruin node, and you're going to get armor breaks placed on you, and Dragon Man's going to be degenning opponents pretty much the entire time. Obviously, Dragon Man might not be perfect for every single matchup here, but going up against Immortal Abomination, Man-Thing, you know, I think he's going to do quite well. Vision Arcus as well, why not? Right? No, but in reality, Kingpin is an absolute god for this lane, and pretty much most of the good skill champions. Taskmaster is amazing here as well, because he goes fully debuff immune very quickly every fight, and then it's just a joy to watch that. And you can obviously still intercept opponents and degen them and all that stuff. You can use Mole Man, Shang-Chi, OG Black Panther. Even though with OG Black Panther, you kind of need to be a bit careful not to spend your entire time in that Panther mode, not to reduce opponent's ability accuracy. Nick Fury, Misty, why not? Elsa is actually very good, because Elsa gives you assisted intercept, so it's super safe to intercept with Elsa. And if you want to make it super foolproof for yourself, you want to bring in Elsa plus Nick plus Quake synergy, because then you're basically going to have a lot of options to have guaranteed intercepts. And because of those guaranteed intercepts, you're going to be able to place plenty of degens on the opponent here with that Warpath node. You see that Warpath node increases opponent's attack every time you purify debuffs. However, when you land an intercept, they start degenning for each Fury removed, and that degen can be very potent. So with Elsa, you just want to hit opponent a bunch of times, dash back to use this node to help you purify debuffs quicker, and then just use Elsa's ability to kind of that evade counter attack, and that's going to count as an intercept, and opponent's going to have massive degen. Really can be pretty much foolproof. Right, so that's all for the lanes. Again, I'm going to leave the write-up up here if you want to take a screenshot at this point, but now we need to take a look at the boss fights. And the boss fights are fairly simple. Guillotine 2099, the one in middle, is probably the easiest one, maybe the easiest one. And only thing you need in here is shock, but shock is kind of provided to you as well. So, you know, it's not too bad. But any champion that can inflict shock on their own obviously is going to do better. Black Widow, Deadly Origins, and Nebula pretty much just have to build up to one level 2 and the fight is over. Dr. Doom can get to shock and then level 3, and that's going to do plenty of damage. Thor Ragnarok, get your level 3 and nuke down the opponent. Hulkbuster is very fun. You can get like, I don't know, 60, 70k heavy attacks easily with Hulkbuster here, thanks to shock vulnerability. Really not that hard to fight. Against Darkhawk, initially it seems scary and tricky, but it isn't. There's this special Conceer node, which means you need to have prowess in order to do damage, but then they do everything to make sure you can make your own prowess with any champion here. So there's the buff synthesis Fury precision node, which means whenever you activate precision buff, if you have a Fury active, both of them are combined, getting a prowess. So now only thing that you need is Fury, and each time the attacker performs well-timed block, they gain a Fury buff for 10 seconds. So what you do is parry, dex, you get a prowess on any champion. So any champion that works well against Darkhawk will do well here. And King Groot does amazing because he brings his own Furies and it's very easy to get prowess and he destroys robots. Crossbones can do very well. Human Torch works well. You can even use Magneto, Corvus, Hercules, whoever you like. And the last fight Ultron is kind of a bit more annoying, but it's not too bad because technically you can pretty much do it with any champion as well. There's no like specific super concrete requirement, but obviously in order to do it best, I personally recommend King Groot, Magneto, Venom Pull, and the silliest thing you can do is, again, you can just, if your Doom is max sig, so this is the Doom cheese, remember your Doom has to be max sig in order to do the Doom cheese. You can just infinitely spam heavy attacks in the corner because every time you knock down the defender, they will get one of 3 buffs, which is Fury, Armor Up, or Power Gain. And then you can stagger it. Yes, he will gain a bar of power, but that doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter is, if your Doom is max sig, after you stagger a buff, they get a shock debuff placed on you. And then you can just shoot another heavy attack, passively stun them, and, you know, bypass their weight and everything else. So you can just Doom slap him into oblivion. Alternatively, just bring in Void, Kingpin, Ghost, whoever, you know, strong champion and can do well for you. Really nothing too specific in this fight that would restrict your options. So there you go. That is the guide for 741. Tomorrow, I'm going to try and upload 2 of these. So 742 and 743. Thank you very much for being patient and waiting. Just kidding. Any of you patient? People ask me this 20 minutes after the content came out. Either way, the video is here. You can stop it now. See ya. Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the